We have an image of the Blarney Castle in Cork, Ireland, and it's a lovely day. It's a lovely shot. I've already done some edits. In fact, let me bring up the menus here just so you can see what it is that we did. After doing basic adjustments in Lightroom, the towers were distorted because this was shot with a really wide-angle lens. So the first thing I did was I brought the front tower, the primary tower, down a little bit, and you can see this one here is really skewed. So I fixed that using the warp tool, and again, that's a subject for another day. But let me just show you in full screen. So now what are the issues with the image perspective-wise? Well, mostly because of where I was standing and it was shot vertically with a wide-angle lens, the foreground is too big. All of this is as big or bigger than the tower itself, and we want to have the viewer go to the tower, as nice as the foreground is. Now, that said, I like everything that's here, so I want to compress it as if I had been able to maybe sit down or squat down low here, which unfortunately was not an option because I'm on a slope, and then there's the stream and pond there in the way, so that wasn't something I could easily do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take everything that I've done so far, and I'm going to do a merge visible with the Alt key held down, which gives me what's called a stack. I have everything flattened in this layer. So now let's take a look. What are we going to do to fix the bottom? Well, let's get the marquee tool, this thing right here, and I'm going to select pretty much the entire bottom of the image. Oop, I missed a piece. Let's do that again. Now, typically in this case, I would go right to content aware scale, but in this case, I don't think it's going to work. Let's go to content aware scale, and the reason is the content aware scale squishes directionally, so it's going to be more in the area you're scaling from. So if I hold down the Shift key and click on this bottom control point, as I come up, notice it keeps compressing the bottom, but not anything else, which is lovely for the image above. However, I'm losing all the water that is underneath the reflection, and I do really want to have that. So I'm going to undo that. And what we're going to do instead is we're going to do a little bit of a gentle, free transform. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the marquee tool again, and I'm only going to select this piece of the image. So let's go to Edit, Free Transform, or Command T. Again, I hold down the Shift key, and I'm going to squish just that part of the reflection. Okay, that helps. So now I'm going to select the entire bottom. In fact, we can hide that back layer there so you see what we're getting. Now I'm going to do a content-aware scale to further compress, but it'll give me a little more flexibility without getting rid of all the water underneath here. So let's hit enter on that. And now let's scale down. So if I deselect, now we can see, compared to where we were, we've brought the bottom up a bit. So we still have the full reflection, but it's not quite as big as the tower above, so it's less of a distraction. So I'm going to get rid of all the stuff underneath here. And what I can do is on our image layer, which is this one right here that we've just done, I'm going to hit Command and click on it. And that selects everything on the layer, which just quickly allows me to come up to here and click on Crop. Could I have brought up the Crop tool? Sure, but that just makes faster work of it. So what else is the problem? We've got a lot of the perspective fixed. However, the castle's a little too skinny. It's not quite this thin. Again, it's a distortion from the lens. We need to expand the entire image left to right a bit. So we're going to get the crop tool. And what we're going to do is not crop, but we're going to reverse crop. We're going to drag the crop out to give us a little bit more real estate. Similar to what you could do with adding canvas to an image, but this way you get to do it visually. So now we have some more room. Again, I'm going to command click on the layer icon. And now we're going to use Free Transform again. So again, Free Transform, Command T. Again, we have to hold down the Shift key to just have it go in one direction. And that allows us to expand the castle out to the way I remember how tall and wide it was. I want to say, looking at it, something about like that looks correct. So let's hit enter on that. And that looks pretty good. So let's deselect that. And I think we're pretty much done. We have some minor things to finish up in Lightroom. Let's send this into Lightroom for some final adjustments. So I'm just going to hit Command S, and that will send our image back into Lightroom. So here's our image back into Lightroom. Just a couple of minor things. First of all, let's see, gee, what is going to be the right perspective or crop for this for a frame. So let's bring up the cropping tool. And obviously we don't want the white stuff on the right. I think I'm going to take a little bit of the tree off. And I think I want to bring it down from the top a little. And maybe a smidge up from the bottom. Something like that. And let's see how that looks. Yep, I like it. Let's add a vignette. So here's our post-crop vignetting. I'm going to go to a -12 on this. As usual, it doesn't look like we did anything until we turn it on and off. And you get to see the vignette. And again, in case you forgot this, the beauty of doing your vignetting in Lightroom is the Lightroom vignette follows a new crop. So if you change your crop, the vignette follows it. One last thing to add some more interest and direction to the castle itself. Let's come up to the masking panel and we're going to do a radial gradient or Shift M. And I'm going to drag a big one like this. Grab the center point to move it down. And I'm going to have the light come in from opposite of where the sun's coming in. You see the sun's coming in from the upper right. We're going to drag this from the lower left up to the castle. And we're going to bring up the exposure a little bit just to add some light on the center of the scene, which will again draw us to the castle. And one last thing as I see it, this little piece of grass here is a little too bright for me. So we're going to get a brush, create a new mask, create new mask, get a brush. I'm going to turn on auto mask. And what I want to do is I just want to pick this grass through the middle here. Right here. I want to take a little bit of the saturation out of it. So I'm going to bring the saturation down a little bit. And I'm going to darken it just a little bit. Again, to make sure our eyes get to there. And as I'm looking at it, this grass here next to this statue of the bird is a little too bright too. So since I have a desaturation and darkening mask going, let's just add to it there as well. And that just brings a little bit of the brightness heat about that. So let's hit done there. Now let's take a look at the crop. Will this fit in a standard frame? Well, we're on custom. Let's see how a 8x10 4x5 looks. And it turned out that the crop we chose was almost exactly that. And we can adjust it up and down a little bit. I think maybe a little bit more leeway below and above. I ended up cropping an area that I didn't really need to. I think about right there is a nice shot. And I think we're done. So let's take a look at our final image. So what we've done is we've fixed the perspective of both towers. We've compressed the foreground so we have everything in the foreground, yet our tower is still bigger, and now the thing will fit in a standard 8x10, 16x20 frame ready for printing and framing. Hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching, and I will see you online again soon. Have a great week. Bye-bye.